When Daniel Cross was arrested for the murder of his wife, Emily, the town expected a scene filled with emotion. People imagined tears, shaking hands, or angry outbursts. Instead, what they saw was something far more unsettling. Daniel smiled. He smiled as police officers placed him in handcuffs outside his quiet suburban home. He smiled during the booking process, posing calmly for his mugshot as if it were an ordinary photograph. And when he appeared in court for the first time, wearing a neatly pressed suit, he sat beside his attorney and smiled again, slow, controlled, and confident. That smile became the first mystery of the case. Daniel Cross was not the type of man anyone expected to be accused of murder. He was a respected financial consultant, known for his sharp mind and polite manner. Neighbors described him as quiet and well-spoken. He waved every morning, paid his bills on time, and never caused trouble. To many, he looked like the picture of stability. Emily Cross had been reported missing 3 weeks earlier. Daniel told police she had gone out for a late-night walk after an argument and never returned. According to him, she needed space to cool down. There were no signs of forced entry in the house, no blood, no broken furniture. Her phone was turned off, and her credit cards had not been used. At first, investigators treated it as a missing person case, but suspicion quickly grew. Daniel waited nearly 12 hours before reporting Emily missing. When questioned, he showed no panic, no desperation, only calm answers delivered in a measured voice. Detectives noticed he corrected them on small details, as if rehearsed. Still, there was nothing concrete tying him to a crime. Without a body, prosecutors faced a major problem. Daniel's lawyer argued that his client was being judged for his demeanor, not for evidence. "Some people grieve quietly," he said. "Some people smile under stress." The media, however, could not look away. Headlines focused on the same unsettling detail. Why was he smiling? Talk shows debated whether the smile was a mask of guilt or simply the reaction of a man wrongly accused. As Daniel left the courtroom that day, he turned briefly toward the cameras and smiled once more. At that moment, no one could prove he had done anything wrong. But detectives knew one thing for certain: the calmest person in the room was also the one with the most to hide. To the outside world, Daniel and Emily Cross looked like a couple who had everything figured out. Their social media pages were filled with smiling photos, holiday dinners, beach vacations, and carefully captioned posts about love and gratitude. Friends often described them as solid and drama-free. When Emily disappeared, many people initially refused to believe there could have been serious problems in their marriage. But detectives quickly learned that appearances were deceiving. Behind closed doors, the Cross household was under quiet pressure. Emily had recently begun confiding in a close friend, admitting that something felt wrong. She spoke about constant arguments over money and Daniel's increasingly secretive behavior. Bills arrived that she did not recognize. Credit cards appeared in Daniel's name that she had never seen before. When she confronted him, he brushed it off, saying it was temporary and under control. It wasn't. Financial records showed Daniel was drowning in debt. Risky investments had failed, and he was borrowing from multiple sources to cover old losses. To Emily, this was more than a money issue, it was a betrayal. She had trusted him completely. Now she felt trapped in a marriage built on lies. The most troubling discovery came from a series of text messages Emily sent just days before she vanished. In them, she told a friend she was planning to leave Daniel. She wrote that she felt unsafe emotionally and that Daniel had become cold and calculating. She was waiting for the right moment to move out and contact a lawyer. Detectives also uncovered a change Emily never knew about. 2 weeks before her disappearance, Daniel had quietly increased her life insurance policy. The paperwork showed his signature alone. The policy payout was enough to erase every debt he carried, and then some. When investigators confronted Daniel with these findings, he remained calm. He admitted to financial stress but denied any marital crisis. He claimed the insurance increase was part of responsible planning. His voice never shook. His expression never changed. In court, the defense leaned heavily on the image of the perfect marriage. They argued that private arguments were normal and that financial trouble did not equal violence. Without physical evidence, they said, the prosecution was building a story, not a case. But for detectives, the picture was becoming clearer. Emily was not just missing. She was preparing to escape a life Daniel could no longer control. And if she left, the truth about his finances would follow. The perfect marriage was only a surface illusion. Beneath it were secrets, desperation, and a motive that was slowly coming into focus, one that would soon collide with undeniable evidence. For months, the case against Daniel Cross hovered on the edge of collapse. Investigators had motive, suspicious behavior, and troubling timelines, but still no direct proof of murder. Defense attorneys repeatedly reminded the court that suspicion was not evidence. Without a body or a clear crime scene, the case seemed destined to fail. Then everything changed because of something small. Emily's car had been examined early in the investigation and cleared. It was parked neatly in the garage, clean and seemingly untouched. But a new forensic technician, reviewing the file late one night, noticed a detail others had dismissed. The trunk lining had been removed and reattached. It was subtle, too neat to look accidental. The car was reopened for examination. Behind the lining, investigators discovered tiny fibers tangled with dirt and grit. At first glance, it looked insignificant, but forensic testing told a different story. The fibers matched a blanket found in the Cross home, one Daniel claimed had never left the house. More importantly, the soil was unusual. It contained a rare mix of red clay and crushed limestone, a combination not found anywhere near the Cross neighborhood. Geologists were consulted. Their conclusion narrowed the source to one location: an abandoned quarry 20 miles outside town. Search teams were dispatched immediately. The quarry was vast, unstable, and dangerous. For days, nothing turned up. Media attention faded again, and Daniel's defense team publicly criticized the search as a desperate fishing expedition. On the fifth day, a cadaver dog alerted near a shallow depression hidden beneath loose rocks. Digging began slowly. Then a boot emerged. Then fabric. Emily Cross's remains were discovered, buried under nearly 4 feet of stone and soil. The medical examiner determined she had died from blunt force trauma to the head. There were no signs of a struggle at the quarry, suggesting she had been unconscious or already dead when she arrived. When Daniel was informed of the discovery, witnesses described a brief change in his expression. His familiar smile faltered, replaced by a tight jaw and silent stare. But in court, his attorneys quickly recovered, arguing that the evidence only showed where Emily had been buried, not who put her there. Prosecutors, however, knew the case had reached a turning point. The fibers, the soil, and the location connected the car, the house, and the body into a single path. The detail everyone once overlooked had become the thread that unraveled everything, and it was only the beginning. With Emily Cross's body recovered, the case against Daniel Cross shifted from suspicion to reconstruction. Investigators no longer asked if a crime had occurred, but how it was carried out, and whether Daniel could still explain his way out of it. Digital evidence became the prosecution's strongest weapon. Daniel had told police that the night Emily disappeared, he stayed home after their argument. He claimed he watched television, fell asleep on the couch, and never left the house. But cell phone data told a different story. His phone left the neighborhood shortly after midnight, traveled east along a rarely used highway, and remained inactive near the quarry for nearly 40 minutes before returning home. At first, the defense suggested the data was unreliable. Then traffic cameras surfaced. Grainy but clear, they showed Daniel's car passing through toll points and intersections he had sworn under oath he never used. The timestamps aligned perfectly with the phone records. Next came the computer analysis. Forensic experts recovered deleted files from Daniel's laptop, files he believed were gone forever. Among them was a spreadsheet titled Financial Reset. It listed credit card balances, loan amounts, and a projected insurance payout. At the bottom was a chilling note. Once this is done, there's no way back, but everything is clean. The courtroom fell silent as prosecutors displayed the document on a large screen. Jurors leaned forward. Daniel's attorneys objected, but the judge allowed it. Then came the timeline. Prosecutors walked the jury through every step. The argument, the delayed missing person report, the altered trunk lining, the trip to the quarry, and the carefully planted story of a late-night walk. Each lie collapsed under GPS coordinates, timestamps, and forensic confirmation. Daniel tried to maintain his composure. He smiled again, but this time it looked strained, unnatural. His leg bounced under the table. He whispered urgently to his lawyer. For the first time, the man who never panicked appeared cornered. Witnesses took the stand. A forensic analyst explained how data does not lie, even when people do. A detective testified that Daniel corrected officers during interviews before they finished their questions, something only someone with prior knowledge would do. By the end of the week, the courtroom atmosphere had changed completely. The confidence that once surrounded Daniel had evaporated. The smile that once unsettled everyone now seemed hollow. The evidence was no longer circumstantial, it was overwhelming, and the jury could see it clearly. The man who believed he had planned the perfect crime was watching his own story fall apart, piece by digital piece. The jury deliberated for just over 3 hours, but inside the courtroom, it felt much longer. Emily Cross's family sat silently in the front row, hands clasped, eyes fixed on the jury box. Daniel Cross remained still at the defense table, staring straight ahead. For the first time since his arrest, there was no smile, only a blank, exhausted expression. When the jury returned, the room stood. The foreperson's voice was steady as the verdict was read. Guilty on all counts. Murder, tampering with evidence, and fraud. Each word landed heavily, echoing through the courtroom. Daniel showed no visible reaction. He did not look at the jury. He did not look at Emily's family. His eyes stayed forward, as if the reality of the moment had not yet reached him. During sentencing, the judge spoke directly to him. The court described the crime as calculated and cold, driven by financial desperation and control. The judge noted Daniel's lack of remorse and the deliberate steps taken to mislead investigators. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As the gavel struck, a quiet sob broke the silence. Emily's mother lowered her head, tears finally falling after months of restraint. Outside the courthouse, the family addressed reporters. They spoke of Emily not as a victim, but as a daughter, a sister, and a friend whose kindness had been exploited by the person she trusted most. Reporters asked about Daniel's smile. One family member said it would haunt them forever, not because it showed confidence, but because it showed how certain he was that he would never be caught. In the days that followed, experts analyzed the case. They agreed the conviction did not hinge on a single dramatic mistake. Instead, it was the accumulation of small details Daniel believed were invisible. A phone left on, a trunk lining reattached too carefully, a file deleted but not destroyed. In prison, Daniel would spend his life in a cell measured in steps, not miles. The freedom he thought he secured through murder was replaced by permanent confinement. The case became a reminder, echoed in true crime documentaries and courtrooms alike. Crimes built on arrogance often collapse under patience and evidence. Daniel Cross smiled in court, believing he was untouchable. In the end, justice did not smile back.